The Scandinavian word is Nord. The English word is north. The German word is Norden. But the ancient Romans, who never saw the place at all, gave us the word that carries the music of the land, Borealis. Traditions of a dozen centuries tell us about the people who live here, of their free spirit, ingenuity and industry, their art, their music, and their courage. The greatest sights up here are not the old Norse relics, nor the modern art, nor even the magnificent scenery. For me, the best sights are the faces of the people.
Hello, I'm Anthony Quayle. I find it very striking that while we are all preoccupied with dramatic events in the Mediterranean, in Africa and in Asia, while we're all wondering what on earth the world is coming to, the people in this corner of Europe are quietly doing something that is absolutely essential to the survival of democracy. They're just getting on with their lives the way they've done for centuries. Nowhere in the world are people more democratic, more free than here in Oslo or in any of the other great northern cities. And nowhere in the world are people more ready to accept the responsibilities that freedom imposes on them. I would like to take you with me to meet some of those people, our allies, the people who guard the northern flank.
In NATO's Northern Command, known as AFNORTH, there are Northern Germany, Denmark, and Norway. To interfere with NATO's vital supply lines across the Atlantic, the Soviet Navy would, in war, have to break its way through sea territories dominated by these nations. Therefore, the successful defense of this area is vital for the security of all the Allies. In Norway, in a small town near Oslo, lives the Svensson family.
I have lived here 29 years, and my wife has lived here all her life and is born here in Lommedalen.
Our youngest son, Björn, is now serving at Bardufoss in northern Norway.
My name is Björn Svensson. The brigade in northern Norway is located in the Troms area. In Norway, there is compulsory service for all men. In addition to having had regular combat training, I have also attended courses in operating heavier motor vehicles. This includes daily maintenance of the vehicle. The brigade in northern Norway has exercises together with other NATO countries. And this winter, the American Marines will have exercises up here.
Brigade North and other Norwegian units guarding this Arctic wilderness. From what? Surely in this remote glacial land there can be no threat except from nature itself. No. Over to the east is Russia, the Kola Peninsula, where the Soviets have assembled a massive concentration of forces and most of their strategic nuclear fleet. This distant, seemingly empty place is therefore of exceptional strategic importance. It overlooks the sea routes from the Kola Peninsula to the Atlantic Ocean. To reach the Atlantic, Russian ships and submarines must move through the Barents Sea, past the North Cape of Norway. This is where they are kept under constant surveillance by Norway and her NATO allies.
Bergen is surrounded by 7 mountains, and it's laying in a valley on the western coast of Norway. The main industry is fishing and shipbuilding, and recently we also got some oil industry. My name is Kari Omvik, and I lived in Bergen all my life. In the springtime, it's a very beautiful city. The composer Edvard Grieg lived in Bergen for many years. His home is laying right outside the center of the town. The old area in Bergen around the fish market and harbour is built in a German style which is called the Hanseatical style. Bergen has of course a very fine harbour, and that's also one of the reasons why Norway's main navy base is located here.
Now we are at Håkonsvern, which is the main base for the Norwegian Navy. My name is Jan Erik Rygg and I am servicing as a second lieutenant. I come from a place near Oslo and I'm currently carrying out my national service as a torpedo officer at 1st Submarine Squadron. At this base there are special repair facilities which are located in caves in the mountains. As a matter of fact, many offices and technical areas are located deep inside the mountains. At this time, my ship Skopen is preparing to go out having exercises with Stavna Forland, which is a part of the NATO standing forces. This particular exercise includes ships from England and United States of America.
Jan Erik Rygg and his shipmates help keep the Atlantic sea lanes open, including the vital link to North America. Any Soviet vessels sailing from the Kola Peninsula into the Atlantic come under their watchful eyes. And beyond the North Cape, there is the wider NATO surveillance between the waters of Europe and Iceland. In time of crisis, NATO's ability to reinforce Norway, indeed all of Europe, might well depend on control of these northern sea lanes.
I'm Lis Brun Olsen, and my job is as an intercept controller in the Danish Air Force.
My name is Niels Henrik, and I'm working at Whitbeck as intercept controller.
Whitbeck is on the east coast of Denmark. It's only about, 1.5 hours sail from Sweden.
My job is to guide military aircraft against its targets.
Different from air traffic controller who tries to separate the aircraft.
Lis and Niels in the air intercept base at Videbæk, Denmark. Constant vigilance, watching, interpreting, interacting with their NATO allies. The sharing of their information is essential because no air or sea base can be maintained without a secure land area from which to operate. In Denmark and Norway, with only 9 million people combined, there are some 400,000 citizen soldiers who are prepared at a moment's notice to pick up their weapons and defend their homeland. And in Germany, there are more. Working with other NATO forces, these citizen soldiers believe they can effectively defend their own lands.
This is Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark. Here we are in one of the old parts of the city with its canals and old buildings. My name is Niels Tønnesen and I study history at the Copenhagen University, and I'm also a member of the Danish Home Guard. This is the Gefion Fountain in the Churchill Park. In the background you have the English church. This is one of the many parks which makes Copenhagen a very nice place to live in. This is the Copenhagen University, where I'm majoring in history. Studying history has made me aware of the importance of having a defense. Personal freedom, freedom of speech means a lot to me. That's one of the reasons why I'm in the Danish Home Guard, where I'm a lieutenant and a shooting instructor. The Home Guard consists of 70,000 members, all voluntary and unpaid. It's well organized, and in the recent years it has become more and more popular among young people to join the Home Guard to contribute to the defense of the country. If the country were to be defended, this is the place where my group would meet. Our job is to secure the station, thereby releasing regular army troops for primary combat tasks. Every member of the Home Guard has his equipment, his weapon, his ammunition in his home, so that with a very short notice we're ready to go to the assembly places.
Niels Tønnesen. a man with a sense of his own place in history.
Well, we are here in Böklund, which is a very small village near the town of Schleswig, which is very close to the Danish border. And it's the Zentralschule Böklund here, which is a combined school of elementary and junior high. My name is Frauke Tengler, and I'm a teacher for English and German in the school. The class we are in now has been studying English for 4 years. Most of the parents are working on farms, on their own farms, and the children have to help a lot at home. They are good children and easy to handle. One of the reasons for my teaching in Böklund is that my husband is flying as a pilot for the Naval Air Arm in Eggebæk.
I'm a pilot in the 1st Squadron of Naval Air Wing 2. The 1st Squadron's primary role is reconnaissance flying, and especially reconnaissance flying over the Baltic Sea and on the Baltic approaches, exits into the North Sea and the North Sea itself. We are flying the RF-104s, and as the secondary task we have the fighter bomber missions. In this area we fly to Denmark or Norway. Once in a year we have a squadron exchange where we exchange pilots from other NATO countries in order to communicate, to learn from them and vice versa, and to make some good friends.
In any confrontation, an inherent weakness in the Warsaw Pact position lies in the fact that to reach the Atlantic, ships must pass within sight of the Danish coasts. The German and Danish air forces keep a constant watch over all aircraft and ship movements in the area.
My husband's father built this small farm. We have 2 girls and 1 boy. My family and I have lived here for 19 years. My son is not at home for the time being because he's in the army at Varde.
I am Christian Holst. I have now joined the army for 4 years. Yes, the Northern Command is under the NATO. I'm a commander of a self-propelled 155mm gun, and that is a very fast gun.
In the low rolling land where Denmark and the Federal Republic of Germany meet, West German and Danish troops often train together under the command of Allied forces Northern Europe.
We had joined the Germans in Munster, that we had joined maneuvers with the Germans, and together we are a very good fighting force. If the area was attacked, we will go together with the Germans and build a front line.
Interdependence. All these maneuvers are carefully planned. One year it's a German commander, and the next year it's a Danish commander.
I came to the Home Guard 11 years ago. I'm Odd Olav Flohaugan, and I'm with a team that travels. The Home Guard is an integral part of the country's defense.
Henrik Ibsen, the great Norwegian playwright, once observed that you should never wear your best trousers when you go out to fight for freedom and truth.
I'm prepared to defend the country in approximately 6 hours, and my team may be ordered to serve anywhere in the country, most likely in eastern Norway. In this particular district, they know the local conditions better than the regular army. I'm proud of serving with the Home Guard and to do a good job.
Constant training in the hard conditions of the northern winters has made them the masters of their own mountain terrain. They are trained to hold the land secure for incoming NATO troops if reinforcement is needed. Effective reinforcement is one of the keys to the northern defense system and is practiced in major maneuvers.
My name is Annette.
My name is Jørgen Stentoft.
I'm a secretary in Aalborg.
I'm second lieutenant, serving at 723 Squadron at Air Station Aalborg in Denmark.
And now I'm on my way to pick up my husband.
And I joined the Air Force in 1971, had 1 year in the Danish flying school. After that, 1 year in Columbus, Mississippi.
The company I work for makes apartments and industrial buildings.
When the ground control intercept station get a hostile target on their radar scopes, they can scramble us on a 5-minute alert. If we have a non-NATO aircraft approaching Danish airspace, we are capable of being airborne within 5 minutes. As part of our normal training, we fly 2 or 3 times a day. I'm returning from one of these missions right now.
Air cover and control of the air spaces above the North Atlantic, Baltic, and the Norwegian seas are provided by the Northern Command. The Air Forces also provide anti-submarine patrols, which chart for NATO the movement of Soviet and other Warsaw Pact ships in the area. In Holstein, Germany, this seed grain farm belongs to the Kirchnick family. Herr Kirchnick has lived on the eastern side of the Iron Curtain, so his family have a special sense of what freedom means. His son, Friedrich Kirchnick.
My home is in Oldenburg. We are here close to the border of the eastern part of Germany. My father works on the propagation of seeds. He comes originally from Pomerania and was made to live there. They had a larger farm, 120 hectares of their own, but when the Russians came, they had to leave the land and fled to the west. Now I am with the armed forces here in Putlos in Company 2 of Battalion 391 in the Watkin barracks. I believe that though personal freedoms of the individual are limited in the army, it is necessary to have an army, because that way the freedom of all is guaranteed. My company, in case of defense, will watch over the rear of the field army and fight attacks coming from the sea to our coast, and in case we have to resist the enemy landing from the air. From here, it is about 5 minutes to get home. I believe there is a special motivation when one does one service where one is at home, since I see what I must defend.
A special motivation. This is the true armor of the citizen soldier. Yes, training and equipment are important, but they are best used by men who, like Private Kirchnick, can say, "We know exactly what we defend."
My name is Lisbeth Winge, and I'm visiting Lieutenant Commander Sten Leidestaff.
Right now I'm back after a NATO exercise, which mainly took part in the Danish and Norwegian waters. Norwegian, German, and a single UK fast patrol boat, and my ship Sjælland took part in that exercise.
We are in the country now, and it's very lovely here. There's not so many cars, and it's so peaceful here. I'm a bank assistant in the private bank here in Jyllinge. Sten Leidestaff is customer down in the bank. That's where I met him.
I have now become an operations officer. It's a relatively long education period, and I feel well educated, and there's nothing which takes me with surprise concerning my job. I am educated as fighter controller and also educated to control the forces at sea, to collect all the information, put all the small bits and pieces together, and to make a whole picture of the situation. The waters around Denmark, they're extremely good for mining, as we have very shallow waters and narrow straits. In fact, Denmark controls the bottleneck to the Baltic. We could very easily close this bottleneck by laying mines, and it would not take us more than very few hours.
If the Baltic Sea is a bottle, In the narrow straits around Denmark, Steen Leidsdorf's mine layer could, if necessary, provide the cork.
My name is Ola Vollan, and I'm stationed at 335 Squadron, Gardermoen in Norway. We are normally transporting personnel and material. One of our defense planning is to take paratroopers and material up to the northern part of the country, drop the equipment without landing up there, and then go back to the south again. Just now I'm going on a mission which will involve squadron exchanges with Germany.
Norway is not very wide, but from north to south, as the crow flies, it stretches more than 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles. However, these American-made C-130s are no crows. Half a dozen of them can shift a battalion of troops from one end of the country to the other in about 3 hours.
My name is Sergeant Robert E. Barents, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I've been stationed here at the AFNORTH Communications Relay Center for about 6 months. We handle all kinds of information here, such as troop movements, ship movements, various NATO exercises, including the movement of the ACE Mobile Force.
The ACE Mobile Force. It's made up of specially trained units from NATO countries, including the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Germany, Holland, Italy, and others. In the event of a crisis involving, just for an example, the North Cape area of Norway, the ACE Mobile Force would be among the first NATO reinforcements to arrive on the scene. The purpose of this multinational brigade-sized force is to guarantee that war will not break out because of a miscalculation about the willingness of the United States or the other allies to come to the aid of any NATO member.
My name is Sue Glaser, and I am in fact a member of the Oslo Dramatic Society. We hope to put on Ghosts by Ibsen. Ibsen was a very famous Norwegian scriptwriter who we have publicized widely within Oslo and the surrounding districts. I'm currently serving at HQ AFNORTH, which is a NATO command base just outside of Oslo. Within my post at Kolsås, I am a communications Ren officer. The defense of Norway relies really on reinforcement troops from England, America, Canada, and even further south, Germany. Communications plays a vital role within the coordination of these NATO troops.
These NATO maneuvers bring into sharp focus the extent to which Allied interdependence has developed since the days of the Cold War. During maneuvers in the Northern Command, the forces of 8 of the 15 NATO member nations are linked together. Danish pilots work with British and German squadrons. A Norwegian control center might direct American and British Royal Marines. Canadian reinforcement troops might come in, escorted by Dutch naval units, sailing under a cover provided by the West German Air Force. Among the 15 nations of NATO, interdependence is a way of life. In the Northern Command, it is an absolute necessity. 8 countries must work together with absolute confidence to protect this vital territory and keep the sea lanes open. Thus, NATO can continue to maintain a strong, credible defense system in Western Europe. And thus, the people of the North Atlantic community, and indeed all Europe, East and West, can continue, as we have now for 3 decades, to live in peace.
So there it is, just ordinary men and women going about their business. Not exactly the stuff of which headlines are made, but much, much more important. It is the very essence of life. 900 years ago, a Norse poet wrote these lines: "Let no man know beforehand his destiny, so shall his mind be most free. One's home is best, however small it be. Best is one's hearth and the sight of the sun." Well, 900 years later, and in a troubled world, we still don't exactly know our destiny beforehand. But our minds are free, and these northern people still place the highest value on hearth and home. Here in the Borealis, they have not lost sight of the sun.